once again, good friends, welcome new subscribers. I'm Brian from Apex Detail. Today we're going to talk about Kandy, C-A-N-D-Y, K-A-N-D-Y, custom paint, or even factory tinted paint. How to correct it, how to care for it. So basically what we have here is a substrate with a primer layer, and it's going to be urethane because it goes along best with the lighter colored, reflective, heavy metal flake pearl colors. That's going to be the base coat. And it's usually going to be a metallic silver, a heavy metallic gold, or even pearl white. Then you have somewhere around 5 layers of the tinted, pigmented clear coat. And sometimes I've even seen sparsely populated small metal flakes in that as well, with even a regular clear coat on top of that for even more depth. It's rare, so today we'll just stick with the factory tinted custom Kandy. Those type of paint jobs, guys, they're highly susceptible to UVA, UVB damage. I highly recommend at least a sealant for protection. So that base coat, that heavy metallic flake down in the base coat is protected for years to come. A sealant, at the very least, something on the the same level in quality as Polish Angel, but I highly recommend a professional, certified applied ceramic coating. You will get transfer of color from that clear to your pad. Don't freak out. It's something similar to correcting single stage, not quite the heavy dense color and transfer you'll get as correcting single stage, but you will get some on your pad. Don't freak out. Just keep it clean between every pass. Blow it out, clean it out, and the pad will then stay effective. The key to this type of correction is removing, again, the least amount. This is even more important than regular clear coat, but removing the least amount of that clear as humanly possible, because you want to keep that base coat nice and fresh and protected. I have a car waiting out in the shop. It is that factory candy colored with the tinted pigmented clear. Let's get out there and I'll show you what to do. Today we have a 2016 Candy Apple Red Chevy Camaro, and it has some love marks, some scratches, and we have a lot of etching from pine needles and pine sap, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Very important to keep your car away from those types of contaminants. They are all over the place, especially on surfaces facing up towards the sun. Pine needles, pine sap, very acidic. Period. 3.5 on a pH scale, freshly fallen from the tree. It neutrals out a little bit as it sits there, but it's also baking through your clear coat and etching it before it gets to that point. So very important, again, to keep your car away from those substances. Now we're going to remove the scratching and the swirling easily and quickly. You could do microfiber with, say, 3D AAT 501 such as this. Well, we're going to stick with 3D AAT, but I want to show you what type of temperatures the microfiber pads do when spiking temperatures on the substrates that you're correcting. So it can go from room temperature, which could be anywhere from the 60s and 70s, up to 104, 105, and that we don't want. Now, don't get me wrong, perfectly fine if you're removing swirls or maybe some minor scratches, but here you can see the etching still here. So you're going to need multiple passes with some time on that panel, really spiking temperatures and just grinding onto the paint. Another option, the Lake Country pre-washed lamb's wool pad, and using the same compound, you'll see we can reach temperatures about 15, 16, 17 degrees cooler than a microfiber. So a better option there. However, even with that pad, it's going to take multiple passes because the etching is deep. The pine sap, the pine needles, they're acidic, they worked on the paint, and then when you have the sun baking down on top of it, it doesn't help. So this is the option I'm going to go for, and that is, of course, wet sanding. This time, instead of my foam block, I'm going to grab the Gator Finish little finger block. It's only about 3 inches long, about 3/4 of an inch to an inch wide, and the pads match. You can grab sheets of different pads, 3,000 grit, 5,000 grit, 1,500 grit. Trace the block, the backing plate, hook and loop, cut it to fit, and there you go. When I'm sanding, it's going to be light pressure, sort of like a firm handshake, and it's not going to be in one area. You're going to see me fan out as I'm sanding to sort of blend in the area. It's not going to be just grinding on one section back and forth the whole time. And as you can see here, the area is a little bit wider than where the staining or the etching was. From there, all I need is a soft polishing pad, open cell, which stay cooler because the air can flow through those perforated pads, and maybe Sonax Perfect Finish, a non-aggressive polish, and we'll finish out from there. Not a lot of stress on the clear. Doing it this way, we can correct quicker. We are easier on the finish itself, keeping the temperatures down. It's a non-aggressive way to correct. I know when people hear wet sanding, they think it's real aggressive and you're removing a ton of material, but it's really not. However, if you go about the wrong way, it can be. Some people, when they see imperfections like this, will grab 1,500 grit or 2,500 grit to go after something like that, where I always go and start at 3,000 grit, and a very high percentage of the time, that's going to remove the imperfection I'm looking to get out of there. I don't go with 1,500 grit or 2,500 grit because once you get to the point where you need, where you have the imperfection removed, keep this in mind. You then have to remove the sand marks from that 15 or 2,500 grit. On the other hand, when I'm removing those imperfections with 3,000 grit, once I have them removed, I only have to remove sand marks of 3,000 grit. Takes a lot less aggressive method to remove sand marks of 3,000 grit compared to 2,500 or 1,500 grit. I hope that, guys, makes sense to you. If it doesn't, leave a comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you. It's just the least aggressive way to correct specialized paint finishes like this. Here we have a real bugger of a stain or an etched area right in the curvy part of where the B-pillar meets the back quarter panel, and you'll see the method I use to remove that. Not just sanding back and forth in the same area, keeping the block perfectly flat, but moving my wrist in the contour of the curve of that area. And when we're done, it's going to be totally removed, completely corrected, and we have the trunk, and now that area, the pillar and the rear quarter panel corrected, and we are moving right along. I did mention transfer at the beginning of the video, in the intro, and this is what it will look like. Not quite as thick and dense as single stage, but I'll grab the QP-On 9.2. We'll get into that later, and I will clean my pads with that. Makes an excellent cleaner for a lot of different things, especially waxes, paint transfer. I'll spray it on there, grab a stiff bristled brush, scrub that in 2 different directions, grab my forced air, and I'm going to do this, guys, in between every pass. This keeps the pad effective, keeps it from clumping, which will then mar the area and give you even more work to do, really. All right, we have that clean again. Let's run around to the front of the car, and I'm going to take care of one of those spots on the hood from start to finish, give you an idea of the time it takes to spot correct really all these areas on top of the car here. We want to perfect the paint before laying down a ceramic coating the best we can. We don't want any imperfection getting locked down underneath a coating, so we'll grab the Gator Finish block, and we're going to get to work fanning out as we sand, not sanding in one tiny area the whole time. And if I need to, one pass, maybe I'll go two passes, no deeper than that. Just do a pass, check your work, and see your progress. Here, in fact, I see something I'm not happy with, and I will go ahead and give it a second pass to see if I can get those out completely. Okay, I'm satisfied there, so let me give you guys a good peek using the shop light before we correct that. And I, in fact, am going back to the low lint pads, the Lake Country lamb's wool pad. I love that they run in the low 80s, keeping the temperature down. And I'll throw it on the rotary so we can really cut down on the time that we're correcting here. That's going to do it. We'll remove the residue. I'll grab the camera, bring you in a little closer so you can check our work. And that is yet another spot down, 28, 29 more to go. Huge turnaround from that area to the area that we haven't touched or haven't corrected yet. And after a lot of time and a lot of patience, these colors here have the great ability to turn around and just give you some depth. It looks like the paint is still wet and dripping off the side of the car. I absolutely love all of these custom colors and tinted colors. Shop lights are one thing. Let's pull it out and show it to my harshest critic, and that's the sun. And this is what it looks like outside. Okay, again, so there's going to be a little bit of transfer of that color from the clear to your pad. That's no big deal. That's natural. Just keep it clean. Remove as little as possible. Just even more important as when you're working on regular clear coat is to use the least aggressive method necessary to remove those imperfections, and you'll be just fine. Those colors are great. You add a quality sealant or a ceramic coating on top, it's going to look so deep you feel like you'd be able to dive into that color. I absolutely love them. If you have any questions, guys, don't hesitate. Brian from Apex Detail. Catch you in the next video.